a marquee franchise needs a marquee player, and the Lakers have always had that guy. And clearly, they've decided that going forward, Luka is going to be it for them. So,
greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and on today's Wind Up Wednesday edition, Luka signs. This is a big deal. We're going to talk about it. NBA global expansion, that is a big deal. We're going to talk about it and its effect on high school basketball and college recruiting. And we'll also talk about WNBA news and notes and stop throwing stuff on the court. Don't do that. All right. So let's get to it. With me today, Captain for Life Will Cotton and our favorite administrator, Robert Abney. Gentlemen, Luka signs. Slim Down Luka is crediting a fresh start mindset for his physical transformation, and he just signed a 3-year, $165 million extension with the Los Angeles Lakers, and he is ready to start. So let me tell you a little bit about the new look Lakers. So you got DeAndre Ayton, you got Marcus Smart, you got Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent, Jackson Hayes, Max Kleber, and some guy from Akron, Ohio named LeBron James. Will, does this signing make any difference at all for the Lakers? Does this mean anything?
Well, in the name of the season, I don't think they're not really that built the team that they want to be yet. But I think what the first thing they did was with the new ownership is you want to establish is you don't let superstars leave Los Angeles. That's number one. I've never heard of it. I've never seen it. If anything, they bring in stars. So the first thing they did was they locked in Luka, which is great. You know what I'm saying? And they can build a team around him. He's proven that he can make it to the finals. He's proven that he's a one-man show. Hopefully, in this last couple of years, he can learn a little bit from LeBron in terms of how to sustain that and longevity and certain like things like that. But I think it was a good sign for them. Also, remember, you killed all those rumors all season, all summer. Where's Luka's going to be? Where is Luka going to be? Is he going to Miami? Is he going to here? You kill all that noise. Now you can focus on basketball, and at the end of the season, you can get rid of LeBron. Whatever happens, I don't know. But then you can actually really put in a plan moving forward, guys that you need to really make your team a viable team. And I think it was a great sign for them.
All right. Robert, at the end of the day, does the Luka signing mean anything?
for this season, probably not. I think I agree with Will. I mean, long term, a marquee franchise needs a marquee player. And right now you got LeBron and you got Luka. You got Luka locked in going forward. You have to, a marquee franchise needs a marquee player, and the Lakers have always had that guy. And clearly they've decided that going forward, Luka is going to be it for them. So, they still have a decision to make at the end of the season about LeBron. If they're lucky, LeBron will make it for them and they don't have to do anything. But who knows what that's going to look like, and LeBron may retire. LeBron may decide he wants to go back to Cleveland for round 3 so he can retire, in his home state. He may get mad and decide to leave because Bronny is still in the G League. I mean, who knows? But I mean, long term for the Lakers, sure, it's a good thing for them. But for right now, it really doesn't mean anything, I don't think.
Yeah. So for me, as Coach Adams, Luka's multiple things can be true. Luka's a phenomenal talent. Yes, you have to sign him. Yes, get the bag, all of that. But we're still talking basketball. And it's one thing to get into shape. It's another thing to go through 82 games to get to the point where you can win 16. You got to play 82 to have the opportunity to win 16. And it's just hard. It's already hard to win a game. So now when you look at the Lakers as they're constructed, there's a reason why DeAndre Ayton was available. There's a reason why Marcus Smart was available. LeBron, as much as he has done, is still 42 years old or whatever he is. And Luka still, when you switch on a screen in the postseason, haven't shown the ability to get low in that stance and challenge and contain. So Oklahoma City's still the defending champions. Houston still got better. San Antonio is not getting worse. Dallas has lucked into a better team, and the list goes on and on. So again, national media needs something to talk about. We've addressed it a little bit in the summer. So now we're going to move on and talk about regular season games in Europe with the NBA globalization. So the NBA announced that the Memphis Grizzlies and the Orlando Magic will play regular season games in Berlin Thursday, January 15th, and in London Sunday, January 18th. The league also announced that it will play regular season games in Manchester and Paris in 2027 and Berlin and Paris in 2028. The NFL has been doing this for years. Now the NBA is doing it. And they're also talking about some global league with FIBA.
Mm-hmm.
Robert, you've had a chance to peek at some of this. Basketball is a global game. What's your thoughts on expansion?
Well, it makes sense for the NBA because where else are they going to go? I mean, there are a very limited number of cities remaining in the United States that can sustain a NBA franchise, and there's nowhere else to go. So if the NBA is going to continue to expand, we've got the G League, maybe we've got NBA Africa, maybe we have NBA Europe. I mean, all of that makes sense to me in terms of, them looking at it from a business model perspective. I will say this, I do not understand why they chose the Grizzlies. It makes a lot more sense for me to pick, a team with a European superstar. Pick the Spurs.
Well, Orlando's got
no, the Magic make perfect sense. Magic makes perfect sense because they have European players on their team. And maybe the Grizzlies do too, but there are no names that jump out at me. And to me, that doesn't make any sense. But it's like we always say, right? We're just some guys on a podcast.
All right.
Who knows?
So, Will, we love getting up at 9 a.m. on NFL Sundays when they got games in London and wherever. Can this work for the NBA? What do you think?
Yeah, sure. I mean, why not? There's always going to have people who are going to watch at like 9 a.m. or 9:30, especially if you have a job. If you're in a meeting and you're like, man, I'm not doing nothing, man, put the game on. Why not? You know what I'm saying? It changes for fantasy basketball as well. It changes for FanDuel. It changes a lot of things that people are like, hey, rather than the first time you log into FanDuel at 12 o'clock, 7 o'clock, now it's at 8 o'clock. And that changes drastically, especially if you're a gambler. It makes you engage a lot earlier than you want to or even need to. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with Yahoo Fantasy. They get a lot of their money off engagement, coming to their platform, clicking on the ads. Hey, I would love it for you to be here at 7 o'clock. Hey, I'd love for you to be at 8 a.m. So that's why they're doing it. I think at the end of the day, with technology, and I think we're moving forward the future in terms of like transportation, those trips will be an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. I mean, it's going to change in the game where we're going to be playing all across the world, and it'll take us like 4 or 5 hours to get to where we need to go. So I think they're just putting their foundation in right now, seeing where they can put some seeds in. We never knew that London was a great Jacksonville Jaguar territory. You know what I'm saying? You would have thought that. But if you put teams there, people will go and see them. I could imagine if, they go to Germany and all of a sudden everybody's wearing Ja Morant. They're big Grizzly fans in Germany. You would never believe it. So, or Banchero. I mean, maybe he relates to others. So I think it's a great opportunity. I think in the future we'll see what they were trying to build from way back when. And again, it's all about engagement. So if I can get you started in the morning rather than the afternoon, that's how it starts too.
Well, and the Magic have 3 German players. So them playing in Berlin, yeah, of course. That makes all kinds of sense. And I think one thing that's interesting that doesn't that I wonder if the NBA thinks about this. So they are going to play 2 games. They're playing Thursday and Sunday in Europe. They've got to get over there. They've got to get back. How does that affect the schedule as a whole? Because you got to give them a little bit of lead time. You got to give them a little bit of time when they get back. If they're only playing 2 games in 8 days, say, does that mean that later on you're looking at a couple extra back-to-backs? Does that mess up the schedule for the people that they're playing? That I look at that and I think it's a great idea. I just wonder what that does to the rest of the schedule, because when Major League Baseball does this, they do it at the beginning of the season. When they go to Japan, when they go to Korea, they play at the beginning of the season, and then they get back and they have like a week before the regular season starts, even though I think this year was the Dodgers and the Giants played 2 games. So what does that do for the rest of the season? I wonder. I'm just curious about that.
My initial guess is they'll be playing either New York or Washington because they have international airports and they have direct flights. It's going to be my guess, but we'll see what happens. All right, fans.
It would suck to try to do that from Portland, right?
Yes, indeed. So, fans, in segment 2, we're talking a lot about globalization. What's its impact on recruiting? We're going to have that conversation. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches Podcast. Hi, everyone. Dr. Keith Adams here. And for over 30 years, I've dedicated my life to helping student athletes succeed, not just on the fields and the courts, but in the classroom and beyond. And that's why I founded the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project understands that finding the balance between academics and athletics is crucial for long-term success. That's why the CKA Save Project offers a range of programs, including personalized consulting, mentorship, and coming in 2027, our innovative Gap Year Basketball Academy designed to assist both young men and women reach their full potential both on and off the court. I'm incredibly excited to announce that the CKA Save Project is now partnering with the Cascade Sports Network. This partnership will allow us the opportunity to amplify our message and reach even more student athletes through the Odd Coaches Podcast and other exciting initiatives. Join the CKA Save Project and the Cascade Sports Network as we empower the next generation of student athletes. Visit CKA on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org to learn more. Let's work together to find the balance and help unlock your potential.
That sounded out
Welcome
weird.
back to the Odd Coaches Podcast. That is segment 2. The CKA Save Project is in the development stages of its postgraduate basketball academy. So this past year, I attended the men's Final Four. My homeboy Robert was with us as we watched a lot of basketball. Attended the SAC Symposium sponsored by the Drake Group Education Fund. Attended the Black Student Athlete Summit. And in this December, I'll be presenting at the Learning Forward Conference in Boston on the topic of empowering student success through data-driven intervention. So based on all of that, some initial thoughts that I have on high school and college basketball recruiting. Balanced postgraduate programs are needed because student athletes are at different levels of readiness academically and athletically coming out of high school. They're at way different levels. Men's basketball is more ready than women's basketball for a postgraduate academy because there are teams to play, and there's not been a lot of investment post-secondary in women's basketball. And everyone needs professional development and education on this because student athletes are exhausting eligibility and not graduating. So with this increased globalization, former players like Kendrick Perkins and Richard Jefferson, who have children who are in this era in terms of recruiting, have had some things to say. I've also had former players who are now college coaches and colleges are doing something different right now. One power conference coach recently said that he doubts that they will take a commitment from anybody in the class of 2026 now because I'm going to wait for the transfer portal. So mid majors are taking big swings at top 50, top 75 players because they tend to have more money for basketball than these power schools because of football. But you also have to remember that when you recruit a freshman, today they're not having the biggest impact. And when we're talking about a high school freshman, they're not having the biggest impact as they may have had before. So, Will, you're on the fringes of basketball because of our social circle. What are your thoughts on all of these things happening in the current recruiting landscape?
It's it's interesting because just like with the college with NIL, they're doing a lot of stuff without actually talking to the players. I think they can get a lot of insight in terms of how these kids expect what they expect, what the rumors are, because in your inner circle, whenever you're growing up playing basketball, it's you guys talking about what your experience have been. And it's always drastically different. You know what I'm saying? Some people didn't like it, some people didn't. So I think the best way that they can sort of build this sort of understanding of the entire recruiting process is include the guys. Say, hey, let's talk about a framework. Let's talk about, because again, the best way that you can do is create a framework. Because if you're trying to figure out a problem, the best way is to have the baseline that you have at least set. So I feel like they can get a framework put on a federal level. Unfortunately, outside of that, they can go in, do a framework, say, hey, these are what the expectations are. This is what it looks like. This is how it works. This is how when this doesn't happen, this also happens. And then everyone can have an understanding of what's going on because there are, like you, coach, you're very, very intuitive in what's going on. You know what's going on with the recruiting process. There's a lot of guys who have kids whose mother, hey, is like, hey, I just got here. I'm just working and I don't really know what the process is. So then she has to trust on somebody and then it's based on their experience. So I think at the end of the day, we all have to understand sort of like baseline and say, hey, let's figure this out. This is what it looks like now because it's not what it was in the 80s and the 70s and 60s. This is the now. Money's being involved. Kids are transferring back and forth, left and right. You know what I'm saying? Making decisions to go to university versus community college because now those years don't go towards your ineligibility. So I think they really have to sit down with a lot of things with this new frontier of sports as amateurism and really put a framework in so people can understand where we're going and how to get there.
Robert, your lens is even more unique because you do officiating on the high school and college levels. And what is your thought as the NBA continues its global expansion? We got high school players trying to get in. You got college teams looking at the portal, and it's just kind of crazy right now because when are we going to get a degree out of all of this? What do you think, Robert?
Mhm. Well, and with everything that has happened with the House settlement and everything else, we still have not had conversations about the transfer portal and, progress towards graduation. We still haven't talked about that. And there are still eligibility requirements, but it would be a lot more meaningful if you're going to have kids hop around that you make sure that when they finish, because a lot of these guys are going to go play in Europe, but you go play in Europe, you come back, you still have to have, okay, what am I going to do now?
Mhm.
And that's not really happening. I generally agree with the sentiment that, for high school kids right now, it makes way more sense for them to either go to junior college or go to D2, low major, mid major, and get on the floor and make an impact right away if they really are looking to get to that high major level. And because there are schools you can do that at, and
Yeah.
for example, because I happen to know, New Mexico 2 years ago, they had, JT Toppin, as the Mountain West Freshman of the Year, went to Texas Tech, and if he wasn't Conference Player of the Year, he was All Conference. Next year they had Donovan Dent, who led them in scoring and assists, and really good player, and went to UCLA. And he's from California, and that's kind of the new landscape, right? So that process makes sense to me, and I think we're going to see that more and more. The other thing I think is and we haven't talked about this very much, but you got Perk and Richard Jefferson, and I really don't care for either of them very much. I don't think either of them have commentary that's all that incisive or anything. But you've got kids in these AAU gyms, and they go play tournaments every weekend. And when do they learn how to play?
Ooh.
When do they learn how to play? The difference in the European guys and the kids coming up, stateside is, those guys play 1 or 2 games a week, and they practice 6 days a week. So not only are they skilled because they practice skills, but they understand how to play basketball. They understand it. Our guys playing here, even if they're playing EYBL, they're playing every weekend. When are they learning how to play? And the answer to that is they're not, which is why a lot of these European kids are passing them by, right? Yeah. There are Wembys, there are SGAs, there are high level, highly talented kids in the United States who love basketball, but are they developing their skills so that they can get to that level? That's
and I want to add something to that, Robert. Francois, my mentee from France, he mentions that he has to go to classes to be certified as a coach, similar to track certifications where you're a level 1 coach, a level 2 coach, a level 3 coach. So he's traveling this summer all over Europe, going to conferences and clinics and things to get his certification. Where in the U.S., everybody's a trainer. We're not mad at you.
USA Track does that?
USA Track has different levels of coaches.
USA Soccer does that? USA Basketball does not.
So you're getting high level training, you're getting coaching, and it's just different. And of course, stupid Keith, when are we going to read? When are we going to write? When are we going to think? Because as much as I like AI is perfect for me because I've been in education 30, 40 years. I can tell AI what to do for me, and the young people using it don't have a base, so AI is telling it what to do. Pretty much the same thing in basketball. I'm practicing 1-on-0, but we play 5-on-5, so there's 10 guys on the court, but I only practice with 1-2 guys on the court. So that's
and there's something to be said for that. You have to develop skills, and a lot of that stuff you develop by yourself on the court, by yourself in the gym. There's no way to become a better shooter other than to practice shooting and to make a lot of shots. That's it. There's no way to become a better ball handler other than to practice ball handling and do a lot of ball handling stuff.
Yeah.
But
Will,
are guys putting in that time? I would submit that a lot of them are not.
Well, I want to close with you because you played for me. And one of the things I used to talk to all of you about is we have 2 hours of practice time for our team to get better. So I can't worry about you right now. You've got to worry about you those other 22 hours. So when we did 10-point games, we're practicing how to play 5-on-5. And it is what you did outside of practice to develop your skills. Now it just kind of seems that coaches are being asked to do everything when my job is to get this team ready. And who's going to help this team get ready? Any thoughts about that as we close this segment?
Oh, a lot of it is just knowing the game. It's just knowing the game. Sometimes these kids don't have a guidance or a coach or a mentor to guide them correctly. So anybody who has any sort of interest in them is like, "Hey, man, I get you skill. I'll get you some. I'm train. Let's get some training. Let's do this. Let's do that." And they just follow them. I know I'm lucky enough to be plugged up to know a lot of good guys in this area. So when my son is doing his training or even things that we're working on, you know, it's stuff that's he's only 5 years old and he tends towards like Steph Curry and he's shooting stuff. I'm like, dude, let's start dribbling first. Let's do some dribbling and kind of work our way up into some basses and things like that. So that, but I think it's just trying to understanding the foundation. Ask people. If you don't really know about basketball, speak to somebody who does and say, hey, start with this. This is how you do it. Now, don't go with your uncle. Don't go with Ray and them. I know coach likes that guy on the corner. Go to somebody in the high school or whatever school you're in. Hey, let me talk to the coach. My son's interested in basketball. What would be the best ways to do that? And like you said, Robert and coach, there's no certification. So a lot of these coaches can say whatever they want, and if you don't know, you're just gonna do it because we've seen videos of them, and we're like, what kind of drill is that? What's going? The guy had the box. You see the guy with the square box, and he's shooting this square thing, and he's like, "That's how you shoot." And I'm like, but when he gets to the game, it's not gonna be a square box. It's just it's ridiculous. It's the wild
Go,
world.
go ahead, Robert.
And some of these guys, I mean, you see some of these guys. I've seen. I can't even tell you how many club basketball games I've seen. And some of these guys coaching these teams. I mean, it's unbelievable some of the stuff you see. And like my brother was in that scene for a while when he was he retired from public schools and he ran a club team for a few years and. He would take 7 kids. Basically, he'd be scrambling around trying to find 7 kids to go play, and they would go play the best club team in New Mexico and would beat them by 15 twice in the same tournament because my brother could coach and my brother could make adjustments, and the kids he got for his team would play together. And you've got these girls with some dude who hoards all the star players, and and you got 5 kids. Oh, it's my turn this trip down the floor. It's going up. There's a lot, man. There's a lot.
So with that, in segment 3, WNBA news and notes, and Sophie Cunningham got a podcast. Just what we need. Gave us content. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches Podcast. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Keith Adams, and for years, I've witnessed the struggles student athletes face on how to truly balance the demands of academics and athletics. It's a question that I have dedicated my life to answering. That's why I wrote Finding the Balance, my personal journey to academic and athletic success. It's more than just a book. It is my personal journey, and it is filled with hard-earned lessons from decades as a coach, educator, and now president of the CKA SAFE Project. Inside, you will find practical advice, real-life stories, and a clear roadmap to help student athletes, coaches, and parents navigate the complex world of balancing sports and education. And now I am thrilled to bring this message to a wider audience as a proud member of the Cascade Sports Network. We're partnering to amplify these crucial conversations about student-athlete success. I believe every student-athlete deserves the opportunity to reach their full potential, both on and off the court and the field. You can purchase your copy directly from our website at www.ckasafeproject.org. Join me and the Cascade Sports Network as we work together to help every student athlete succeed. Welcome back to the Coaches Podcast in segment 3, WNBA news and notes. 1, top 5. Number 1, Minnesota Lynx get well soon. Naficia Collier, bad ankle injury, wrong time of the year to have one.
Mhm.
2, New York Liberty. 3, Phoenix Mercury. 4, Seattle Storm. 5, Atlanta Dream. Let's keep an eye on Phoenix this week. There was a benching of a star player, so we'll see how that works out. On the outside looking in, Indiana Fever, get Caitlin healthy, just make it to the playoffs and let the ratings do the work. Las Vegas Aces, Golden State Valkyries, Washington Mystics, and the Los Angeles Sparks. Cameron Brink is back playing. But our story of the week, people are talking. So my legendary Prince fandom is coming in. I just can't believe all the things people say. Controversy, and of course in wrestling, controversy creates cash. Not a fan of night one of SummerSlam, but that's another story. But Sophie Cunningham, she said some things out loud that people have whispered about. In her defense of her teammate Caitlin Clark, or CC, as we said. So one of the things she said was, yes, Caitlin's the face of the league, and anybody who doesn't think so is kind of crazy. You also have people like Candace Parker on podcasts talking about the fact that you can't ask for money and have just such a rotten performance at the All-Star game. And of course, the CBA contract negotiations are hot and heavy. Robert, you are our levity. You got Sophie out there. You got Candace Parker out there. You got the CBA out there. What are you thinking about all of this, sir?
I mean, what you have is you have all these people saying the quiet part out loud, right? That's what you have. And the thing is there, I mean, Sophie Cunningham is right. You can say whatever you want. There are great players in the WNBA. Caitlin Clark is the face of the league. That's it. She's the face of the league. And you can, that's it. That's all there is. You can also promote other players, but she's it. And the league has done a really poor job of making sure that their assets are taken care of, right? Candace Parker, you cannot come out in t-shirts that say, pay me, I can't remember what they said, pay me what I'm worth, or pay us what we're worth, or whatever, and then have a crappy effort like that. You can't do that, because you're undermining your own argument. So, I mean, and I think what has happened is I feel like the league itself was not prepared at all for the growing pains that it is experiencing. They right now they are being reactive. I'm sure they had some kind of growth plan, 5-year 5-year plan, 10-year plan. I know they had that, but they need to revisit that, because whatever they had in mind, if this is it, it ain't working.
Yeah. Will, what are your thoughts, sir?
Oh, I mean, Robert hit it on the nail, man. I mean, it's just they are not ready now for the growth that they have now, and that's because of the commissioner that they have. You know what I'm saying? And it's everything within company, or even like the president. When you have a wartime going on, you want a wartime president. When you have a peacetime, you want a peaceful president. And right there, and then the money time, and they don't have a money commissioner right now. They're just not, like you said, they're more reactive. I mean, we're asking for things. We're like, dude, what about this? Why am I not hearing about this? Why did I even know that this is on All-Star weekend? Why didn't I know that the two best teams are playing each other at 7 o'clock? And that's not, put it brained in my brain or seen everywhere what I'm going on. It's kind of embarrassing. It's kind of silly. And then at the same time, because of they're not preparing their players, what I'm saying, the right way, then they're coming and saying, we want more money. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking? And then now you have Loudmouth. I won't even say her name out loud, but Loudmouth over here talking about, well, hey, we're willing to not play. We're willing to strike. We're not gonna da, 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 da. Go ahead. That would be the worst thing that y'all could do. That would be the worst thing ever. Trust me, when NHL were boycotted and they didn't play for a whole season, nobody really cared. For the most part, they did not care. They did not. So don't play with people. Don't play with people. And I think they really need to sit down and really change their ownership. I mean, even the commissioner, they need somebody who can look at the game from 50 years from now saying, okay, I can project where we're going to be. But right now, they're just like happy to be here. Oh man, I'm happy to be in the club, man.
They
Who wants
need
some drinks?
they need
It's happy
someone. They
here.
need someone like David Stern.
Yeah.
Yeah, forward thinking. Just somebody out here. Take chances. Right now is the time to take chances. Put money into marketing, put money into communication, put money into commercials. Do something different, find a different way. But it's, sneakers. Even if you y'all can wear whatever y'all want, something. But just they're not ready for the popularity that they're given. And as consumers, American consumers, all we want is more. More, 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 more. And you're not giving it to us. And you're asking for more money, but you're not giving us what we want. That is the back and forth. So it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult. So they need to really sit down and put a plan in. And like Robert said, scrap their whole plan up and just write it from right now. So it's not working right now.
So I had an ex-girlfriend once. Didn't get a lot out of the relationship, but I got one thing. Keith, you have to be proactive and not reactive. You can think about 88 plays. You can think about recruiting. You can think about all of these different things, but you can't do a decent birthday dinner. You've got to be better. And I took that to heart. Again, the relationship's terrible, but that's a great lesson that I learned early on. And that's what the WNBA is not doing. I have this incredible talent in front of me that people want to see, and they want to pay their good dollar to see. And using basic wrestling 101, if you have a star, let a star be a star. And every opportunity you have to promote that star, put that star out there and let everybody tag on. So Andre the Giant was an attraction. So whenever he went, he often tagged with the local star, and it built the local star up. Flair was an attraction. He traveled around the country and he wrestled the best wrestler in that region, and that built that star up. Say what you want about the red and yellow, but when he was on the card, everybody was making money. So you have a golden goose and you just keep beating up the golden goose. Why? No, don't do that. Robert, any final thoughts before we wrap up this week's episode?
No. I mean, it's what are we doing? What are we doing? That's really it. What are we doing?
All right, we're all on the same team. We can all eat. We can all eat.
Exactly.
Right. We can all eat. All right. So with that, on behalf of our Cavalcade stars, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast, also seen on the Cascade Sports Network, and we will see you on the sidelines. Until next time, take care.
The Odd Coaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org. We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach Franchize. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches Podcast.